changed miraculously forever. I'm going to bring up Rowena Rodriguez. Am I giving your whole testimony away? No?
Oh, you can bring it.
Okay. 8-year man fast, this one. Beautiful woman of God. Throwing the numbers in the trash for Jesus.
That's right.
And thank you. Please. Just take your time, and
All right.
I'm excited.
Gosh, thanks, Reba. Thank you so much for having me here. This is amazing. As Reba said, my name is Rowena Rodriguez. I have a ministry called Plain Jane Project, and I was radically just transformed and saved and ministered to when I was working in the fashion industry here in LA. And little did I know, God strategically placed people in my life to radically just save me. God went to the marketplace to come get me, and this is what He did. He caused this Devil Wears Prada kind of fast-paced life, and He literally transformed it. And now Plain Jane Project is a ministry of purity. This is a crazy thing. I am the last person on the planet. You know God has a sense of humor, because I'm the last person on the planet that should have a ministry of purity. I usually teach and speak to an audience that is, let's just say, well-churched. And this is a group that I thought, Lord, they're probably unchurched. So this is how I started it. I'm like, can anybody tell me what lust is? They were like, we don't know. Let's open up our Bible to Matthew 5:27-28. This is what it says. You've heard it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. You had lust in your heart, you commit adultery with her. You thought that you were scot-free of that commandment. Well, you just broke it. Every single time that you meditated and you lusted after a woman, and they just looked at me just like deer in headlights. So now that they knew that they had lusted, now that they knew that they were adulterers, we took it to the next level, right? And so now I'm going to take you to Hosea 3:3. And it says, I said to her, you shall stay with me many days. You shall not play the harlot, nor shall you have a man. So too I will be towards you. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king or a prince. The woman who invited me is a lawyer, and I'm walking her life a little bit with her. And I look at her and I'm like, it says here that for many days you shall not play the harlot. So that means you're not going to flirt, you're not going to, you're not going to text, you're not going to date, you're not going to, all those things, right? She's like, yeah. And it says here, no king and prince. You shall be without king and prince. And it says here that shall be for many days. So then I asked her, why are you allowing these jokers to roll up on you? You got jokers and jacks rolling. I mean, if this is your word, let's really talk about this, right? She's like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, but there's this guy. I'm like, oh. She's like, where's the line? Rowena, where's the line? You're the minister of purity. Where's the line? I just flirted with him. I'm like, oh, you just did a little bit of this? Is that a sin? I'm like, well. She's like, well, where's the line? Tell me where I can stop. And I said, well, it's not about where the line is. It's about where your heart is. And she's like, I knew you were going to say that. But it is. That's where it is. Because some of us think just because we meditate on that thought. But then here's a little revelation that I got. Because a lot of people come into my ministry and they're like, and this is to be highly commended. They are virgins. Some of them are they're in their teens and their 20s. They are in their 30s, sometimes 40s, and they're virgins. And they have set themselves apart in purity for the one, for their husband, for their wife. But there's a little bit, if you look at their life, there's a little bit of fruit, a little bit of an aftertaste of wickedness. And the word warns us of this in 2 Timothy 3:1-7-3. When ungrateful, they will consider nothing sacred. They will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride and love and pleasure rather than God. And they will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. It says, stay away from people like that. All right? Is this okay? Is this going down smooth? Because it's a little bit hard, right? Talk right. They will even say all the right scriptures. They'll lay hands. They'll touch and agree with you. They'll know exactly what to do. But you know what? You gotta watch. You gotta stand back a little bit. You gotta smell the aroma, because the Lord is all about aromas. You can't fake an aroma. You gotta test them out. You gotta listen. You gotta use all your senses, not just your eyes. Shut your eyes if you have to. Shut your eyes if you have to. Pluck it out if it's causing you to sin. All right? That's what it says. All right?
Thank you so much, Rowena. I know that there's so much programming out there. You know, I was watching the show the other day, and they're actually talking about virgins or people who have the convictions to save themselves from marriage or not to have sex with the first person on the first date that they see. And they're treating them like, oh, they're like a loser. But I love how Rowena was just challenging us. You know it's true, you know? You know there's programs out like that.
That's right.
And she was really challenging us to set ourselves apart for God with that purity. And I love that message. And just know that this is what JCTV stands for. That alternative, that we want people to know, people that are watching, that you are not a unicorn. You're not unusual. There are people. I saved myself for marriage. There are other people out there that do that. That aren't going to sleep with every single person that they date. That's just not the way it is with every single person. But that's how other stations, other parts of media will have you believe. And that's why JCTV is so important, isn't it, Bill?
Well, it is. You know, instead of a buffet of men or women, and say, this is the way. You can do it. You can take the stand. You can be more, and God can give you the strength. And that's why I love what I'm even hearing tonight about this whole purity message. And that's what you're going to hear through JCTV.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Larissa. So I left y'all with kind of like a hard message there, you know. But here's where the wisdom comes from. The last time I was here at JCTV, I was actually on top 3, you know, with Rich and Larissa and Reba. And I'm going to quote something that Rich said. He says, God never called us to virginity. He calls us to purity. When he said that, I was like, gosh, I wish I could shake his hand right this second. I would be disqualified. So many of us would be disqualified from the ministry and just for being Christians. But really, I love TBN so much. I watch y'all all the time and JCTV, but here on one of the Praise the Lord programs, had Bishop Darrell Hines come in, and he had this quote. He said, holiness is God's identity. Love is God's ability. We learn in church all the time that God is love. But he said, actually, his identity is holiness. His action, his ability is to love. Only the Lord can call that, and then he can equip you to walk in that without breaking glass in case of emergency. Trust me, I wanted to do that so bad, so many times, and God was like, don't grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time. Don't grow weary. You're my beloved. I'm rejoicing over you with singing. So Bishop Darrell Hines, he goes further to say, anybody can love. Anybody. It is possible it's possible to be a loving sinner, to be a loving liar, to be a loving. This is what God and Christ is calling you to be set apart for many days. You're pining and whining while you're wondering why, you know, if you're single, or let's be biblical, if you are unmarried, if you're pining and whining why you are not married yet, this might be you, Hosea 3:3. It might be many days that you are called to not have a king or a prince in your kingdom, because he is calling you to himself. He says here, for many days you will not play the harlot, and you shall have no man, and I will be that way towards you. He is calling you to, often trying to take captive, right? That always go kind of rogue and wild on you. This is what he is desiring to do with you. And people think, oh my gosh, Rowena, if I'm breaking the commandment every 10 seconds, what is it, every 3 seconds for men or something like that, something scientific study or something like that, right? If that is the case, This scripture right here was what set me free. Isaiah 61:7. I'm going to close with this. Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor. And instead of confusion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Before in their former shames, you can cast that off of you. It's no longer yours. And you can put on this garment where it says right here, instead of your shame, you can have a double portion. It's a gift that is yours. You've got to receive it, put it on. It fits you perfectly. It's a couture garment that belongs to you. Receive it, wear it. It is the garment of praise. It is garment of praise, and the oil of gladness is upon it, and the aroma is sweet.